Okay, let's unpack this. I have to be completely honest with you and with everyone listening right now. When the research team dropped the dossier for today's deep dive on my desk, I actually thought they were playing a prank on me.
I can see that.
I mean, usually we're looking at, these heavy macroeconomic trends or the history of the transistor or some forgotten geopolitical crisis from the 19th century. And today, I am holding a stack of notes, a very thick stack of notes, I might add, about a racing video game from 2005.
It does look a little bit like we've gone off the rails at first glance, doesn't it? I can see why you double-check the filing system.
It really does. We are talking about Need for Speed, Most Wanted. And look, before we get too deep, I have to say, I played this game.
Oh, you did?
Oh, yeah. I have very specific, very fond memories of the BMW M3 GTR, the police chases, the blacklist of rival racers. It was just pure, unadulterated adrenaline. It was, neon lights and early 2000s angst.
A very specific vibe.
A very specific vibe. But then I started reading the source material you brought in, specifically this breakdown of a concept album by the artist Ti-Fi, and my jaw hit the floor.
Yeah.
I realized pretty quickly that we aren't talking about street racing at all.
No, we certainly aren't, and that is what makes this deep dive so exciting. We are looking at a 20-track concept album that uses the plot of Need for Speed, Most Wanted as a kind of
Scaffolding.
But the mission today, if you will, is to decode what is actually a startlingly accurate, almost terrifyingly visceral allegory for trauma recovery and the architecture of the human mind.
It's a wild pivot. So just to set the stage for everyone, Ti-Fi has written these songs from the perspective of the protagonist, but they've completely flipped the script. And the premise here is that the high-speed chases aren't criminal acts. They are internal psychological events.
Precisely, and that's the key to understanding everything we're about to discuss. If you try to listen to this album as a tribute to a car game, it's good. It's a great listen.
Sure.
But if you listen to it as a map of the nervous system, it's profound. In this allegory, the cars aren't cars. They are coping mechanisms.
And the police. Yeah. Because they are everywhere in this game. I mean, that's the whole point, the chases.
The police aren't the law enforcement of Rockport City. They represent the nervous system itself. Specifically, they represent the sympathetic nervous system in a state of hyperarousal. It's your anxiety, it's your panic, it's that biological imperative that hunts you down when you're trying to heal.
The fight or flight response, basically.
In a big, big way. Yeah.
And the rivals, the famous blacklist of 15 racers that you have to beat one by one.
They aren't other drivers. They are symptoms. They are defense mechanisms. Each race isn't a competition for a pink slip. It's a confrontation with a malfunctioning part of your own psyche. Denial, anger, shame, they're all there.
Which completely recontextualizes the title, Most Wanted. Because in the game, the goal is to be the most wanted criminal. You want the notoriety. You want to be public enemy number one. But here,
the source material slips it beautifully. The goal of recovery is to be most wanted by yourself.
Wow.
To want to inhabit your own body again. To reclaim the parts of you that have been exiled or locked away by trauma. It's about becoming the owner of your own life rather than a fugitive running from it.
That's a heavy concept to hang on a racing game.
Right.
But the more I read, the more it made perfect sense. Because the sources mention this idea that trauma is kinetic.
Yes. Trauma moves. It has velocity. It's not a static event that happens and is over. It has an inertia that carries through your life.
Exactly. So let's dive into this. The album is structured chronologically, mirroring the game's plot, but it's divided into 4 distinct phases of recovery. We begin with part 1, the collapse. This covers the first 4 tracks.
Right, the inciting incident. The fall from grace, if you want to call it that.
We kick off with track 1, Silver and Blue. Now, for the gamers listening, this is the iconic BMW M3 GTR. It's the hero car. It's on the cover of the box. It's perfect. It's the fastest thing on the street from the moment you start.
It is perfect. And that's the problem. In the album, this car represents the false self, or what psychology might call a manic defense.
A manic defense. Let's break that down, because I think a lot of people might hear manic and think of something chaotic or out of control. But here, it sounds incredibly controlled.
It's the illusion of control. Think about the lyrics Ti-Fi uses here. Ignorance is bliss when the turbo is loud.
Right.
Or the description of wearing armor made of silver paint. This is describing high-functioning anxiety. It's that state where you are performing incredibly well on the outside. You're fast, you're shiny, you're achieving things, you're the CEO of your own life. but the engine is redlining constantly.
So it's the idea that if I just keep moving fast enough, if I work 80 hours a week, if I keep the calendar full, if I keep the accolades coming, then the bad feelings can't catch me.
They can't even get close. That's the theory, anyway. The car is described as a dissociation chamber. It isn't a vehicle for travel. It's a soundproof booth. You're literally drowning out the quiet voice in your head that knows something is fundamentally wrong, something is hurting.
And the perfection is part of that defense.
It's the core of it. The flaw in this defense, and it's a fatal flaw, is the belief that perfection equals safety. If I have no dents, I am safe. If my paint is flawless, nothing can touch me. But you can't redline an engine forever. The biology doesn't allow it. Something will break.
And inevitably, the engine blows.
Mm-hmm.
Which brings us to track 2, oil slick. Now, in the game, this is where the villain, Razor, sabotages your car. He unscrews a bolt or something, and during the race, the oil leaks out and the engine dies. It's a very external act of sabotage.
Right.
But the source material emphasizes something really specific here regarding the allegory. It's not a high-speed collision into a wall. It's a mechanical seizure.
This is a crucial distinction. We often think of trauma as a crash, a sudden violent impact from the outside. But Ti-Fi describes it as the body betraying you from the inside. The lyrics say, the rhythm is broken, the melody dies. This connects directly to the psychological concept of tonic immobility.
Tonic immobility, that's the freeze response, right? Not fight or flight, but just nothing.
Exactly, freeze.
Yeah.
When a violation or a traumatic event happens, sometimes the nervous system gets so overwhelmed it just pulls the emergency brake, it shuts down, the engine seizes. The source describes the protagonist standing there watching their keys and their entire identity being stolen by Razor, and they're completely unable to move or stop it.
That feeling of a total loss of agency, that has to be terrifying.
That is the core injury of trauma. It's not just that something bad happened, it's that control was ripped away from you. You are left naked on the asphalt, as the lyrics say. You aren't fighting back because your system has decided that freezing, becoming invisible, shutting down, is the only way to survive the moment. The body says stop, even when the mind wants to go.
So you've lost the BMW, you've lost the false self, the mania is gone, the armor is stripped away, and now you are at the absolute bottom. Track 3 is called the bus stop. You need a car, but you have no money and no reputation. So you buy a used Chevy Cobalt.
The humble Chevy Cobalt. I think we've all driven a metaphorical Cobalt at some point in our lives.
Yeah.
This represents regression and functional depression.
Functional depression. That phrase hits hard because you're technically moving, right? You aren't stuck in bed. The car still runs.
Exactly. And that's why it's functional. It's insidious. But listen to the lyrics. It ain't me, but it gets me A to B. Just a disguise so nobody can see. That is the essence of masking.
It's just a shell.
It's a shell. You've lost the manic energy of the BMW. You aren't special anymore. You don't feel fast. You don't feel shiny. Now you're just surviving. You show up to work, you pay the bills. That's the car running. But inside, you are hollow. You're scraping by on emotional pennies.
You feel like a passenger in your own life.
That's a perfect way to put it. The Cobalt isn't a car you love. It's a car you endure just to keep up appearances so people don't ask you if you're okay, because that's the last thing you want.
It's a bleak image. But you can't stay in a Cobalt forever. You need a place to actually fix things. And that introduces a central character named Mia in track 4, Ghost in the Wire. In the game, she's the mysterious helper who gives you tips and guides you. But here
she represents intuition, the gut feeling, that quiet voice that survived the crash.
And she provides something essential. This safe house.
Yes. And pay attention to this metaphor because it's vital for anyone listening who is going through this process. The safe house isn't a physical location. It's not a garage downtown. It represents the activation of the parasympathetic nervous system.
The rest and digest system. The opposite of the police sirens.
Exactly. The source makes a brilliant point here. You cannot fix an engine while driving down the highway at 100 miles. You physically can't do it. You need a garage. Recovery requires finding a mental space where the police, that constant anxiety and hypervigilance, can't find you.
So you can actually turn the ignition off. For the first time, maybe ever.
Yes. And that is terrifying because stillness feels like death when you've been running on mania. But healing is described in the lyrics as sitting still and breathing in the dust. It's about finding safety in the quiet, which is a radical act. Mia, your intuition tells you it's the only way to repair the damage. You have to stop running to start fixing.
So we've crashed, we've hit depression, and we've found a safe house. The engine is off. Now begins part 2, the grind. This is where we start working our way up the blacklist. And again, these are just other racers. These are defense mechanisms we have to dismantle.
Correct. We are now actively engaging with the things that are keeping us stuck. We're opening the hood.
And the first one is Sonny, blacklist number 15. The track is Blind Eye. Sonny drives a car with these massive slashy rims, but the engine is completely stock. He's all shell.
He is the embodiment of denial. And note that description in the lyrics. You say you're the king, but you're wearing a crown made of cardboard and glitter.
I love that line. It's so dismissive, but also so accurate.
Because denial is always flashy, it's loud, it tries to distract you and everyone else from the brokenness inside. It's the person at the party who is laughing the loudest. It's the perfect family photo on social media. It says, I'm fine. Look at my rims. Look at my smile. Look at my Instagram. Everything is great.
It's the fake it till you make it strategy, but used to hide a wound, not to build confidence.
Precisely. And the victory here beating Sonny isn't about driving faster than him. It's about honesty. The lyric says, I am a sinner and you ain't a saint. It's that moment you look in the mirror and finally truly admit, I have a problem. I am hurt. This isn't working. That admission shatters the delusion. Denial can't survive in the face of radical honesty.
But here is the thing about psychology, and this album just nails it. Once you strip away the denial, you usually find something much hotter and more volatile underneath.
Always. Denial is a lid on a boiling pot.
And that brings us to track 6, Whirlwind. And the rival is Taz. And Taz is, well, he's a lot.
Taz is a cyclone of hate. This represents displacement and raw, undirected anger.
Displacement. Give us the quick version of that.
Psychological displacement is when you take your internal pain, your shame, your hurt, your fear, and you project it onto the environment because it's too painful to hold inside. You punch a wall instead of confronting the person who hurt you. You scream at traffic. You pick a fight with your spouse over the dishwasher when you're actually mad about your childhood.
It feels powerful, though. Rage feels like fuel, especially after the numbness of the cobalt.
It does. It feels like a riot, as the song says. You finally feel alive again, even if it's a painful aliveness. But the insight here is that rage burns dirty. It's an inefficient fuel.
You can't steer when you're spinning.
That's the line. Anger might get you moving, but you have no control. You're just smashing into things. It eventually burns itself out and leaves you and everyone around you wrecked. Defeating Taz isn't about being angrier than him. It's about realizing that you don't have to join the chaos. You just have to drive through it. You have to endure the storm of anger without letting it drive the car.
So we move from too much energy, this whirlwind of anger, to no energy at all. Track 7 is Stuck in Neutral, featuring Vic. He's sitting at number 13 on the blacklist with a really powerful car, a Toyota Supra, but he never drives it fast. He just sits there.
This is learned helplessness, stagnation, the deceptive comfort of the depression pit.
Why is the pit comfortable? That seems so counterintuitive. Why would anyone want to be stuck?
Because it's safe. It's predictable. If you don't try, you can't fail again. If you stay in the mud, you can't crash again. Vic represents that part of us that says, why bother? I'll just lose again. The system is rigged. I'm broken beyond repair. It's a surrender.
The lyrics talk of the wheels not turning and the scenery staying the same. Lost in the fog, I think is the phrase.
Yes, and the solution in the song is fascinating. It's not some grand, heroic moment. The protagonist just forces the gear shift into first. It grinds. It hurts. It's not smooth. But the victory is the decision that any movement, even painful, grinding movement, is better than the safety of the mud. You have to choose to leave the comfort of misery.
It's the act of trying that's the win.
It's the only win that matters at that stage.
And as we move up the list, as we start getting some traction, we encounter the true villain of the album, at least for now. Not a racer, but the lead cop, Sergeant Cross.
Ah, yes, Cross.
Track 8, Key Scratch.
Cross is a fascinating figure in this allegory. He represents toxic shame. And we have to distinguish this from guilt. This is a very, very important nuance.
Okay, go on. What's the difference?
Guilt says, I did something bad. Shame says, I am bad.
Yeah, that's a heavy distinction.
It's everything. Guilt is about behavior. Shame is about identity. Guilt can be productive. It can lead to apologies, to making amends. Shame is just a cage.
And in the song, Cross doesn't want to arrest you. He's not trying to stop you.
No. He wants to mark you. He keys the car. The lyric is chilling. He marks the paint with a jagged line saying, you are broken and you are mine.
You are mine. That's ownership.
Shame claims ownership of your identity. It wants you to believe that the scratch on the outside defines the engine on the inside. It wants you to believe you are permanently damaged goods. The entire song is an act of defiance against that idea. It's realizing that an external judgment or a scar or a past event does not stop the spirit from running. You can drive a scratched car. The scratch doesn't ruin the engine unless you let it.
So we've faced denial, anger, helplessness, and now shame. We've been driving this beat-up Cobalt for a while now. We've won some races, but it's clear we need an upgrade. We can't keep driving the Cobalt if we want to beat the top of the list. Track 9 is The Mechanic.
This is a huge turning point in the album.
This is where the protagonist buys a Subaru Impreza.
This is the shift from a survival car to a recovery car.
Why a Subaru, specifically? I mean, aside from the rally heritage, which is cool for a racing game, what's the allegory there?
It's the all-wheel drive. The source material connects this directly to neuroplasticity and resourcing. The AWD represents grip on the soul.
Grip on the soul. I like that. That's good.
The insight is that you aren't trying to build a car that just looks cool, like the BMW was. And you're not driving a car that just hides you, like the Cobalt. You are consciously building a car designed for the rain and the mud.
For reality.
For reality. You are building new neural pathways, that's the mechanical upgrade, to handle the messy, unpredictable nature of life. It's about having traction, not just raw speed. You're building resilience. You are preparing for the road to be rough rather than just hoping it will be smooth forever.
So we have the new car, we have the grip, we're feeling good, we're climbing the list, we're making real progress. And then part 3 happens, the relapse and internal sabotage.
Yeah.
Because recovery isn't a straight line, is it?
It never is. It's a spiral. And sometimes you loop back on yourself.
Track 10 is Rubber Band, featuring Earl. And anyone who played racing games in the 2000s knows exactly what Rubber Band AI is.
Oh, yes. The most frustrating mechanic in gaming history. For those who don't know, it's when the computer opponents magically catch up to you no matter how fast you drive. You could be a mile ahead, driving a perfect race, and suddenly, zoom, they're right on your bumper.
It used to make me so mad. I threw controllers over that. It felt so unfair.
It's frustrating in a game, but it's a profound allegory for the cyclical nature of healing. The concept here is relapse.
I thought I was safe.
Yeah.
But the shadow is faster.
That's the lyric. You feel like you're winning, you're recovering, you've had a good month, maybe even a good year. You're in your Subaru, you've got grip, and then snap trauma rubber bands back instantly. A smell, a sound, a bad interaction at work, and you feel like you're right back in the panic. You feel like you're back at the starting line.
So what's the lesson? Do you just give up?
Yeah.
Because it does. It feels unfair. It feels like all your work was for nothing.
The lesson is that relapse is part of the road. It doesn't mean you failed. It doesn't mean the upgrades you made to the car are gone. It just means the past caught up for a moment. The source says you have to hold the end and keep driving. You accept the cycle rather than fighting the fact that it exists. You expect the rubber band, so when it happens, you don't crash. You just keep your foot on the gas.
That acceptance seems key. And as we move into the deeper tracks, the baggage gets heavier. Literally. Track 11 is Heavyweight, featuring Jules and her Ford Mustang.
This track addresses somatic memory, the physical weight of trauma stored in the body, the idea that the body keeps the score, as Bessel van der Kolk would say.
The lyrics paint such a vivid picture, dragging the trunk full of yesterday's pain.
And we often think that carrying our burdens makes us strong, right? It's a badge of honor. I can handle this. I'm a tank. I can take the hit. But the song points out that if you're a tank, you can't maneuver. You can't turn. You're slow to react to new situations.
You get stuck in old patterns.
Exactly. Healing requires dropping the baggage to find agility. It's terrifying to let go of the weight because, in a strange way, the weight feels like who we are. We identify with our struggle. But the song argues you have to drop it to fly?
Speaking of flying, or maybe crashing, track 12 is Kamikaze, featuring Kazi. And her whole deal is that she wants to crash just to see the explosion. She doesn't even care about winning the race.
This is the death drive, a Freudian concept, basically. It's subconscious self-sabotage.
Why do we do this? The lyric, driving off the cliff just to see the view, sounds completely insane on the surface.
It's not insane, it's maladaptive. Because sometimes when peace feels unfamiliar, chaos feels safer. If you grew up in a chaotic environment, a quiet Tuesday afternoon can feel deeply threatening. Your nervous system starts thinking, it's too quiet, the predator must be hiding somewhere.
So you create your own crisis.
You blow it up to return to a familiar state of crisis. If I create the chaos, at least I control it. It's a twisted form of agency. So defeating Tazi is about resisting that urge to pull the handbrake on the highway just to feel something.
It's the active choice to stay on the road when every impulse you have screams to jerk the wheel.
That's it. It's choosing the unfamiliar peace over the familiar chaos.
That requires so much self-awareness. Which brings us to track 13, The Imposter, featuring Ming. He drives a Lamborghini, but the lyrics emphasize something important. He didn't build it, he bought it.
This is a deep dive into imposter syndrome and core beliefs. Shiny exterior, hollow inside. Ming represents the fear that we are faking our recovery, that we're just acting healthy, but underneath we're still broken, we're still that beat-up cobalt, and any minute now, everyone's going to find out.
But the protagonist is in the Subaru, the car they built themselves.
Exactly. The contrast is key. The lyric is, I built this engine with my own hands. It means you earned the serotonin. You did the therapy work, you sat in the discomfort, you stayed on the road when you wanted to crash. You aren't faking it if you put in the labor. The song's conclusion is, real, recognize real. It's an affirmation of self-worth based on effort, not on external appearance or status.
I love that. You earned the serotonin. That should be on a t-shirt. Okay, so track 14's Tunnel Vision, and it features two rivals, Webster and JV. This one felt different. It wasn't really a fight in the same way the others were.
No, it represents a shift in strategy. It's about using tunnel vision as a positive force. This is the flow state. This is mindfulness in action.
No side mirrors looking ahead.
It's about being so present in the moment, in the gear change, in your breath, and the feeling of the tires on the road, that the demons of the past and the fears of the future they disappear. They might still be there on the periphery, but you're not focused on them. You aren't fighting the thoughts. You're just driving past them. You enter a state of pure existence. You are simply in the flow.
But then, just when you're in the zone, just when you're focused, the past knocks on the door one last time. Track 15, Old Friend, featuring Ronnie. And he's a guy from the very start of the game. He saw you when you were in the BMW at the peak of your manic defense.
Ronnie represents enablers and trauma bonding.
And the lyric, you liked me broken, you liked me weak. That is a devastating line.
It's one of the hardest truths in recovery. Sometimes there are people in our lives who liked us better when we were broken because it made them feel superior or needed or in control. When you start getting healthy, they get uncomfortable. They say things like, you've changed.
And usually they mean it as an insult, not a compliment.
Exactly. Because your health highlights their own stagnation. So what do? The song is about cutting the cord. It's about realizing that loyalty to your history shouldn't cost you your future. The lyric says, it's okay to outgrow people, even if they were once an old friend.
This is a tough section of the album. Relapse, self-sabotage, letting go of people. It's the messy part of the work.
It's the hardest part, but it's necessary to get to the final stage.
We are nearing the end now, part 4. Integration and the leap. We're at the top of the blacklist. We've beaten almost everyone. But there are still obstacles. Track 16 is The Gatekeeper, featuring Bull. Blacklist number 2.
Bull is the wall. Psychologically, this represents the concept of homeostasis and resistance.
Resistance to what, though? We're almost there. We're at the finish line. Why would we resist getting better now?
Because the system seeks stability, even if that stability is a painful one. Just before a major breakthrough, the psyche often puts up a massive wall. You suddenly get exhausted, you get sick, you get overwhelmed with terror. The system is trying to protect the core wound. It's screaming, stop, don't go in there, it's dangerous. We've survived this long by hiding. Don't change the one thing that's kept us alive.
So it's the final boss before the actual final boss.
Correct. Smashing through the gatekeeper is the act of pushing past that final, desperate attempt of your own nervous system to stay the same. You have to break the lock to get to the king.
And the king is Razor, track 17, Mirror Match. And here is the biggest reveal of the album, the biggest twist. Razor isn't driving his black Mustang like in the game. He is driving your car. The silver and blue BMW M3 GTR from the very beginning.
This is shadow work. The enemy looks like you and sounds like you.
It's a mirror match, me versus me.
Razor represents the shadow self, all the parts of yourself you rejected and exiled in order to survive. The anger, the cruelty, the selfishness. The source material says the shadow is the version of you that learned to hate in order to survive. It's the part of you that did what it had to do in the dark.
So how do you win that race? Do you run him off the road? Do you destroy him?
No, that's the trap. That's what you've been doing your whole life, trying to destroy or suppress that part of yourself. If you destroy the shadow, you destroy a part of yourself. If you crash that car, you die too.
So what's the alternative? How do you win?
You win by taking the keys back. It's not about annihilation, it's about integration. It's about reclaiming ownership of the dark parts. You look at Razor and you accept that he's part of you, he kept you safe when you were weak, but he doesn't get to drive anymore. You say, thank you for protecting me, but I'm driving now.
And once you take the keys, the sirens go off. The whole city descends. Track 18.
Yeah.
Badge and betrayal. This is when Mia reveals she's an undercover cop.
Right.
Now, in the game, this is a betrayal. She set you up. But here...
Remember our allegory. In this context, the police represent order, health, and reality.
So this isn't a betrayal.
It's a salvation. Mia, your intuition, wasn't leading you into danger. She was leading you to the truth this whole time. She arrests Razor.
She arrests the shadow.
Right. The shadow is contained, integrated, brought under the law of the conscious mind. It's not destroyed. It's put in its proper place. And then Mia tosses the keys back to you. The lyric says, intuition was working deep undercover. It was leading you here all along so you could finally be whole.
You have the keys. You have the BMW back, but now you have it with awareness, not mania. You're whole. You've integrated the shadow. But the city is swarming. Track 19, condition 6. The heat level goes to maximum. Heavy SUVs, spike strips, helicopters, everything.
This is the extinction burst.
That sounds intense. What is that?
In behavioral psychology, when you stop a maladaptive behavior for good, the urges spike wildly right before they die out. Your brain has one last massive panic attack. It screams, come back to the misery. It's unsafe out here. This new way is unknown.
The lyrics literally scream that. My brain is screaming, come back to the misery.
It's the body trying to force you back to the old familiar patterns because the new freedom feels terrifyingly unsafe. The strategy here isn't to fight, it's just to survive. The lyric says it's 5 minutes of hell to get to heaven. You just have to hold on and ride it out until the brain realizes the threat isn't real. You just have to survive the surge.
And finally, you outrun them. You get to the edge of the city, and you come to track 20. Broken bridge. There is only one way out. There's an old bridge, but it's unfinished. There's a massive gap.
This is the climax of the entire album. This is radical acceptance and post-traumatic growth.
Logic says stop, but fate says jump.
The realization here is that you cannot leave the way you came. You cannot go back to being the person you were before the trauma. That road is closed. That bridge is broken forever. The only way forward is to fly over the gap into the unknown.
The car flies over the edge. The police, the past, the shame, the anxiety, they're all stuck on the other side. They can't follow you there.
And you land. The final lyric is, no blacklist, no bounty, no shame. You're a stranger in a new world, guided only by the morning star. It's the ultimate act of trust. Trusting that if you leave your trauma behind, if you take that leap of faith, you won't fall into the abyss. You'll land on the other side.
Man, trust me, you'll land. That's a lot to pull from a racing game.
It is, but it's fitting, isn't it?
So let's bring it all home. What does this all mean for us? Why does this allegory work so well? Why take a game about illegal street racing and turn it into this incredibly detailed map of recovery?
I think it's because trauma isn't static. It's not a photograph. It's kinetic. It's a chase. It has momentum. And recovery requires active driving. You have to steer. You have to shift gears. You have to maintain your vehicle. You can't just sit in the passenger seat and hope it goes away.
You have to be the one behind the wheel.
You have to be the one. And sometimes, to get to where you need to go, you have to drive off a broken bridge.
I think I'm going to look at my own check engine light a little differently now.
As we all should.
This has been an incredible journey through the mind of a TIE-Fi and the world of Rockport City. Thank you for this deep dive. It's been really something else.
My pleasure.
And to everyone listening, if you are staring at a gap in your life where the old road ends, where logic tells you to stop, maybe it's time to hit the gas. Maybe it's time to jump. We'll see you in the next deep dive.
Drive safe.